3 years of floating in the dark had turned the magnificent ship into a ghost story. Dale Hendricks pressed his face against the transport window and watched the pale shape grow larger against the starfield. Even from 5 kilometers away, he could see the problem. The ship's hull, once smooth and pearl white, now looked like someone had glued thousands of metal mushrooms across every surface. Void barnacles, the worst kind of infestation in known space. The pilot, a nervous Terran named Floyd, kept their transport at a safe distance. "That's far enough for me, buddy. You sure about this?" Dale grabbed his tool bag and checked the seals on his worksuit one more time. "I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm sure." "Your funeral." Floyd initiated the undocking sequence for Dale's small repair shuttle. "Those things have killed better engineers than you." Dale climbed into the shuttle without responding. People always said that. They'd said it when he fixed the colony hauler everyone thought was beyond repair. They'd said it when he brought the medical frigate back online after it had been adrift for 2 months. Let them talk. Dale knew what he was doing. The shuttle separated with a soft thunk. Dale guided it toward the massive derelict using manual controls. No automation here. The barnacles fed on electromagnetic fields, and any active scanning system would draw them like blood in water. He kept his systems to bare minimum, just enough thrust and life support to make the approach. Up close, the ship was even worse than the long-range images suggested. The Draconis-class Explorer stretched nearly 400 meters from nose to tail, its organic curves designed to slip through space like a living creature. Except now those curves were buried under layers of silicon-based parasites. They ranged in size from dinner plates to small cars, their metallic surfaces glinting in the dim light from distant stars. Dale had studied the reports during his 3-week journey to Dust Haven. 7 salvage teams had tried to reclaim this ship. The first team used plasma cutters. The heat made the barnacles reproduce faster. The second team tried chemical warfare. The barnacles adapted within hours. A Kelthian bioweapons expert attempted to engineer a virus. The barnacles evolved immunity and spread the virus back to his ship, nearly killing his entire crew. Everyone treated it like a battle. Dale knew better. This wasn't a fight. This was a sickness, and the ship was the patient. He found an auxiliary port near what would be the ship's midsection. The airlock door was covered in barnacles, but they were smaller here, newer growth. Dale pulled out a simple crowbar from his tool bag. Sometimes the old ways worked best. He wedged the bar into the door seam and pushed. The metal groaned. The barnacles cracked. After 10 minutes of hard work, the door gave way. The airlock cycled slowly, its systems running on emergency power. Dale checked his suit's air supply. 6 hours. Plenty of time for a first look. Inside, the ship was beautiful and sad at the same time. Bioluminescent panels lined the curved walls, but most were dark or flickering. The corridors had the smooth, flowing design of Draconis architecture, like walking through the ribcage of some great beast. And everywhere, pushing through the walls like tumors, were more barnacles. Dale walked carefully, testing each step. The ship's gravity was working, barely. He made his way toward the bridge, following the main corridor. His helmet light swept across abandoned belongings. A child's toy, a datapad, a photograph stuck to a wall with magnetic tape, showing a family of Valerians, their scaled faces smiling. They'd loved this ship. Dale could tell from the small details, the hand-painted decorations on the walls, the carefully arranged furniture. This hadn't been just transportation for them. It had been home. The bridge doors were sealed. Dale spent 20 minutes bypassing the lock mechanism with manual overrides. When the doors finally slid open, he saw the neural interface chamber at the center of the room. A Draconis ship wasn't controlled by computers alone. It had a living consciousness grown from organic neural tissue and quantum processors. The captain would link directly to that consciousness through the interface. Dale approached the chamber slowly. "Hello? Anyone home?" For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the bioluminescent panels around the chamber began to glow, faint and blue. The light pulsed irregularly like a struggling heartbeat. Dale felt something brush against his mind. Not words, more like feelings, pain, loneliness, fear. The ship was awake barely, and it was suffering. "My name is Dale," he said quietly. "I'm here to help you." The lights pulsed again, faster this time. Dale sensed confusion. Hope? Maybe. Or maybe just desperation. He pulled out his scanner and ran a basic diagnostic on the neural chamber. The readings made him wince. The ship's consciousness was fragmented, running at less than 20% capacity. The barnacles had grown into the neural pathways, disrupting the delicate connections that made up her mind. Her. Dale wasn't sure why he thought of the ship as female, but it felt right. "I know you're scared," Dale said. "I know it hurts, but I need you to trust me, okay? This is going to take time. Weeks, maybe months. And some of it is going to hurt worse before it gets better. But I promise you I won't give up. I won't leave you here to die." The bioluminescent panels brightened slightly. Dale felt something warm touch his thoughts. Not quite trust, not yet, but willingness to try. He spent the next hour exploring the bridge, taking notes, building a mental map of the ship's condition. The more he learned, the more certain he became. The other salvage teams had failed because they treated this like a mechanical problem. Cut out the bad parts, replace them, move on. But Draconis ships weren't just machines. They were alive in ways that mattered. You couldn't cut cancer out of a thinking being without killing parts of who they were. Dale needed a different approach. He needed to make the ship inhospitable to the parasites without harming her. He needed to boost her immune system, help her fight back from within, and he needed to do it carefully, one step at a time. Back in his shuttle, Dale recorded his initial assessment. The ship was viable. Damaged, infested, traumatized, but viable. Under all that silicon horror was a magnificent vessel that deserved a second chance. He named her Silvara. It seemed appropriate for something so pale and precious. Tomorrow he would return to Dust Haven and start gathering supplies. Tonight, before he left, he went back inside and found the bridge again. "I'll be back," he told the flickering lights. "I promise. Just hold on a little longer." The response was weak but clear, a pulse of light that felt like a hand reaching out in the dark, finding his and holding on. Station Master Grant had 8 eyes, and all of them looked at Dale like he was crazy. The Malari merchant folded 4 of his 6 arms across his chest while the other 2 gestured at the contract display between them. "You understand the terms? No station support. No emergency rescue if things go wrong. You're on your own out there." Dale signed the digital contract with his thumb. "I understand. 15% of salvage value if you make her sellable." Grant's mandibles clicked together in what might have been laughter. "Though I think I'm stealing from you. That ship has eaten bigger dreams than yours." "Maybe." Dale picked up his supply list. "I need these items. Can you source them?" Grant's eyes scanned the list. All 8 widened. "Bacterial cultures? Frequency modulators? What are you planning, Hendricks?" "My job." Dale transferred the payment for the first batch of supplies. It took most of his savings, but he'd planned for that. "How soon can you get them?" 3 days. Grant saved the list and leaned back in his chair. "You really think you can save that ship?" "Yes, why? What's so special about one dead Draconis explorer?" Dale thought about the photograph on the wall. The family who'd loved their ship and lost it. The weak pulse of light that had felt like hope. "Because nobody else will try." 2 days later, Dale loaded his shuttle with supplies and returned to Silvara. This time he brought enough equipment to stay aboard for weeks. A portable air recycler, ration packs, a sleeping pod, tools, chemicals, and a small fabrication unit to manufacture parts as needed. His repair drone, Rusty, followed the shuttle on its own power. The little machine was older than Dale's career, held together with spare parts and stubborn determination. Its optical sensors were mismatched, giving it a lopsided appearance, but it could analyze materials and assist with delicate work better than any new model. Dale set up his base camp in Silvara's cargo bay. The space was huge, designed to carry exploration equipment and samples from alien worlds. Now it was empty except for his gear and the barnacles growing through the floor plating. "All right, girl," Dale said to the ship. "Let's get started." He began in the cargo bay itself. The barnacles here were medium-sized, about as big as his fist. Dale mixed his first chemical solution, a compound designed to disrupt silicon-based molecular bonds. He applied it carefully to one barnacle cluster and stepped back to watch. The reaction took 20 minutes. The barnacles began to crack, their metallic surfaces losing cohesion. Dale felt a flutter of sensation from Silvara. Relief, yes, definitely relief. Like scratching an itch that had been bothering her for years. "That feel better?" Dale asked. The cargo bay lights brightened slightly. Dale smiled. They were communicating, even if it was basic. He spent the next week working 12-hour days. Apply chemical solution to a section of barnacles. Wait for them to weaken. Use mechanical tools to remove the dead husks. Hatch the underlying hull where the parasites had damaged it. Move to the next section. Repeat. It was slow, tedious work, but it was working. Dale talked while he worked. He told Silvara about Earth, about the oceans and forests she'd never seen. He told her about his first ship, a cargo hauler named Betty that had taught him everything about void engineering. He told her jokes, bad ones mostly, and was pleased when her lights flickered in what might have been laughter. During rest periods, Dale explored more of the ship. He found the crew quarters still furnished with personal belongings. The Valerian family had left in a hurry, taking only what they could carry. Their panic was written in overturned chairs and abandoned meals. In one cabin, clearly belonging to a child, Dale found a drawing stuck to the wall. It showed a white ship with a smiling face flying through stars. Underneath, in careful letters, were words in Valerian script. Dale ran them through his translator. "I love you, Silvara," the child had named her. The family had known she was alive, aware, capable of love. They'd fled anyway when the infestation became too dangerous. Dale wondered if they'd cried when they left. He suspected they had. After 2 weeks of surface treatment, Dale moved to the harder problem. The larger barnacle colonies, the ones that had grown deep into Silvara's neural pathways. These weren't just attached to the outside. They'd burrowed into her body, wrapping around critical systems like strangling vines. Dale found the worst concentration near the engineering section. A massive barnacle queen, easily 3 meters across, had grown directly into Silvara's power distribution network. Its silicon tendrils spread through bulkheads and conduits, feeding on the ship's energy flow. "This one's going to hurt," Dale warned. "I have to weaken it slowly. If I cut it out too fast, it might damage your power systems permanently." He felt Silvara's acknowledgement. Fear and determination mixed together. Dale set up a frequency generator next to the queen barnacle. The device would emit specific electromagnetic pulses designed to interfere with the parasite's feeding process. Not enough to kill it quickly, but enough to starve it over time. He activated the generator and immediately felt Silvara's distress. The change in energy flow was confusing her systems. Her lights flickered erratically. The gravity fluctuated, making Dale stumble. I know, he said quickly. "Just breathe through it. Your body needs to adjust." For 3 days, Silvara struggled with the new frequency pattern. Dale stayed close, monitoring her vital signs, adjusting the generator when the discomfort became too severe. He barely slept, afraid she might give up, might decide the cure was worse than the disease. On the 4th day, something changed. The barnacle queen began to shrink. Its metallic surface grew dull. The tendrils retracted slightly from Silvara's systems, and Silvara's lights grew brighter. Dale checked the readings on his scanner and let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Her neural activity was increasing. The frequency shift was working. She was adapting, learning to function with the new pattern, and in the process she was making her own body inhospitable to the parasites. "You're doing it," Dale said, pressing his hand against the wall. "You're fighting back." The response was stronger than before. Not just feelings now, but something closer to concepts. Gratitude, recognition, the beginning of actual communication. Dale set up more frequency generators throughout the ship. Each one targeted different barnacle colonies, slowly starving them while Silvara's systems adapted. It was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of fighting a war against the infestation, he was helping Silvara's body defend itself. At night, if you could call it night in space, Dale lay in his sleeping pod and felt the ship around him. Her heartbeat, the pulse of her power core. Her breathing, the circulation of atmosphere through her ventilation systems. She was more alive than most creatures he'd met, and more aware than people gave her credit for. One evening, while Dale was repairing a damaged section of hull plating, Rusty suddenly emitted an alert. Dale looked up to see a cluster of small barnacles releasing microscopic larvae into the air. The tiny parasites swarmed toward his suit, trying to find purchase on the material. Dale backpedaled quickly, but there were thousands of them. They covered his helmet, his gloves, his chest plate. He felt them trying to burrow through the suit's outer layer. "Rusty, scrambler pulse now." The little drone shot forward and emitted a high-frequency burst. The larvae fell away, dead or disabled. But the pulse also overloaded Rusty's power core. The drone dropped to the floor with a pathetic whir. Dale scooped up his mechanical friend and ran for the cargo bay. He sealed himself in the decontamination area he'd set up and spent an hour scrubbing every centimeter of his suit. The larvae couldn't survive the chemical wash, but it was close. Too close. Rusty was worse. The scrambler pulse had fried half the drone's internal systems. Dale spent 3 days rebuilding the little machine from spare parts, working through exhaustion and frustration. Without Rusty's help, the detailed work would take 10 times longer. During those 3 days, Silvara's light stayed close to him, watching, worried. Dale realized she felt responsible for what had happened. The barnacle defense mechanism had been automatic, not something she could control in her weakened state. "Not your fault," Dale told her, his hands deep in Rusty's mechanical guts. "You didn't ask for this infestation. You're just trying to survive." When Rusty finally powered back on, optical sensors blinking irregularly, Dale felt relief wash through the ship as strongly as through himself. They were in this together now, all three of them. A man, a drone, and a dying ship that refused to give up. 5 weeks into the treatment, Dale ran out of money. He sat in his shuttle looking at his account balance and doing math that refused to work out in his favor. The supplies he needed for the next phase would cost another 30,000 credits. He had 800 left. Back at Dusthaven, he tried to negotiate with Grant. "I need credit. Extension on the salvage contract." Grant's mandibles clicked negative. "You've been out there over a month, Hendricks. Show me progress worth investing in." Dale pulled up footage from Silvara's hull cameras. The before and after images were dramatic. Sections of pristine white hull where barnacle colonies used to be. 40% clear already. Another month and she'll be salvageable. 40% isn't enough. Come back when she's flight capable. Grant waved him away with multiple arms. "Until then, you're a bad investment." Dale sold his shuttle. The small craft brought in enough credits to buy 2 more weeks of supplies. He'd figure out how to leave Silvara later. Right now, she needed him more than he needed an escape route. When he returned to the ship and told her what he'd done, her lights dimmed with something that felt like guilt. Dale laughed and patted the wall. "Don't worry about it. I've been in tighter spots." He hadn't really. But she didn't need to know that. The next phase required more aggressive treatment. Dale had mapped Silvara's entire neural network and identified 12 major barnacle colonies that were directly interfering with her consciousness. These weren't just parasites anymore. They'd integrated so deeply into her mind that removing them would be like cutting out chunks of her brain. Unless he could get her own immune system to do the work. Dale had researched Draconis biology during his journey to Dusthaven. These ships were grown, not built. Their organic components included immune responses similar to living creatures. When healthy, a Draconis ship could identify and eliminate foreign bodies, heal damage, even regenerate certain systems. But Silvara's immune system had been dormant for years, starved by the barnacle infestation and the loss of her crew. "I need to wake up your defenses," Dale explained, standing in the neural chamber. "Your body knows how to fight these things. It's just forgotten how." He'd purchased synthetic nutrients designed for organic starship systems. They were expensive, rare, and usually only available to licensed Draconis maintenance facilities. Dale had spent half his remaining credits on the black market to get them. The nutrients would feed Silvara's biological systems directly, giving her body the resources it needed to mount a defense. But there was a catch. To properly distribute the nutrients, he'd need to shut down all non-essential systems and divert every bit of power to her organic core. That meant no life support. No gravity, no lights, for at least 3 days, maybe more. Dale could survive in his suit for that long. Barely. But if something went wrong, if Silvara's systems didn't respond to the treatment, they'd both die. Him from running out of air. Her from system failure. You understand what I'm asking? Dale said to the flickering lights. "This is all or nothing. We either do this and you get strong enough to fight back, or we fail and that's it." Silvara's response was immediate and clear. An image in Dale's mind of the photograph he'd found in the child's cabin. The drawing of a happy ship flying through stars. She wanted to live. She wanted to be what she once was. Whatever the risk. All right then. Dale sealed his work suit and checked his air reserves. 6 days maximum if he rationed carefully. "Let's do this." He injected the first dose of nutrients directly into Silvara's organic core. The thick amber liquid flowed through tubes that connected to her biological systems. Then he initiated the power diversion sequence. Every light went out at once. Gravity disappeared, leaving Dale floating in absolute darkness. The only sounds were his own breathing and the faint hum of his suit's life support. For the first 12 hours, nothing happened. Dale drifted through the dark corridors, using his helmet light sparingly to conserve power. He found Rusty and strapped the drone to his belt so they wouldn't get separated. The cold came next. Without environmental systems, the ship's temperature dropped fast. By hour 20, Dale's suit heater was working overtime. By hour 30, he was shivering despite the heating elements. He kept talking to Silvara even though she couldn't respond. He told her about his daughter, Rachel. How she'd loved space, how she'd wanted to be an explorer, how she'd died when the colony ship's life support failed, and Dale had been light years away, unable to help. I couldn't save her, Dale said, his words fogging his helmet. I was the best engineer on that station, and I couldn't save my own kid. You know what that does to a person? Makes you feel useless. Makes you question everything. The darkness pressed in. Dale's suit reported external temperature at -40 degrees. After she died, I couldn't work on colony ships anymore. Too many memories. So I started taking the jobs nobody else wanted. Dead ships, broken stations, lost causes. I guess I figured if I could save enough impossible cases, maybe it would make up for the one I couldn't save. His air reserves ticked down. 4 days left. But here's the thing, Silvera. I'm not doing this to make up for anything. I'm doing it because you deserve to live. Because somebody should fight for you the way I wish somebody had fought for Rachel. On the third day, Dale's suit heater started failing. He'd pushed it too hard for too long. He curled into a ball to conserve warmth. Rusty clutched against his chest. The little drone was cold and inactive. Its system shut down to preserve power. Dale's hands shook. His thoughts moved slowly, syrup thick. This was it. He'd gambled everything and lost. In a few hours he'd fall asleep, and that would be that. At least Silvara wouldn't be alone. They'd die together, frozen in the dark between stars. Then, so faint he thought he imagined it, a light appeared. Blue and soft, coming from the walls themselves. The bioluminescent panels were activating one by one. Dale tried to speak, but his jaw was locked with cold. He watched the light spread through the corridor like dawn breaking. More and more panels waking up. Growing brighter, warmth followed. Gentle at first, then stronger. The heating systems coming back online. Dale gasped as feeling returned to his fingers and toes in painful pins and needles. Gravity engaged with a soft thump, settling him to the floor. Rusty clattered next to him, suddenly heavy again. Silvara? Dale's voice cracked. The response wasn't feelings or images. It was words, clear and strong in his mind. Hello, Dale, thank you for believing in me. Dale laughed, then cried, then laughed again. She was awake. Really awake. Her consciousness was clear and focused in a way it hadn't been since he'd found her. Over the next hours, Silvara explained what had happened. Her organic systems had absorbed the nutrients and used them to manufacture antibodies. Her immune response had activated after 72 hours, exactly as Dale had hoped. Now her own body was attacking the barnacle infestation from within. Dale pulled himself to a viewing port and looked out at Silvara's hull. Even in the dim starlight, he could see barnacles falling away. The parasites were dying in waves, their metallic husks drifting into space like leaves in autumn. How do you feel? Dale asked. Alive, Silvara answered. For the first time in 3 years, I feel alive. They spent the next week in a careful dance. Silvara's immune system was strong but unpredictable after years of dormancy. Sometimes it attacked too aggressively, causing her pain. Other times it needed guidance. Needed Dale to manually remove particularly stubborn colonies, but they were winning. The infestation was dying. Silvara's hull grew cleaner every day, revealing the beautiful pearl-white surface underneath. Dale repaired systems as they became accessible. Power conduits, navigation sensors, weapon systems, engine components. With each repair, Silvara grew more capable, more herself. She shared memories with him during the work. Her construction in the Draconis shipyards of Vel Prime. Her first crew, explorers who'd mapped 3 new solar systems. The Valerian family who'd bought her and loved her like one of their own. The horror of the barnacle infestation, the slow realization that she was dying. They didn't want to leave me, Silvara said, showing Dale the moment the family had evacuated. The father cried. The child refused to go until the mother forced them. They thought they were abandoning me to die alone. You're not alone now, Dale said. No, Silvara agreed, her lights warm and bright. I'm not. The representatives from Iridian Corporation arrived on a corporate shuttle so polished it hurt to look at. Dale watched them dock at Dust Haven through Silvara's external cameras. 3 of them, dressed in expensive suits carrying datapads and legal documents. Grant called Dale's comm frequency within the hour. Hendricks, you need to come in, now. Little busy here, Dale said, elbow deep in Silvara's sensor array. They're claiming salvage rights. They say since they attempted recovery first, they have priority claim on the ship. Dale put down his tools. They nearly killed her with their attempt. That doesn't give them rights to anything. Just get in here. Let the lawyers sort it out. Dale looked at Silvara's bridge displays. She was monitoring the conversation, her lights pulsing with agitation. They want to take you, he said quietly. I know. Her voice in his mind was tight with fear. I've dealt with Iridian before. They don't see ships like me as alive. They'll lobotomize my AI core and sell me as empty hardware. That's not going to happen. How can you stop them? They have lawyers, resources, power. Dale grabbed his jacket. I have you. That's enough. The meeting took place in Grant's office. The 3 corporate representatives sat on one side of the table. Dale stood on the other, refusing the offered chair. Grant lurked near the door, all 8 eyes darting between the parties. The lead representative, a human woman named Patricia with perfect hair and cold eyes, slid a datapad across the table. These are the records of Iridian's salvage attempt 3 years ago. We invested 2 million credits in recovery operations. That gives us priority claim under Galactic Maritime Law, Section 47. Dale didn't touch the datapad. You invested 2 million credits in nearly destroying her. Your team used acid on organic hull components. You caused more damage than the Barnacles did. The ship was already non-viable, Patricia said smoothly. We were attempting asset recovery. The fact that we were unsuccessful doesn't negate our claim. And now that you've made the vessel salvageable, our investment entitles us to ownership. She's not an asset. She's alive. Patricia's smile was razor-thin. Draconis ships are classified as semi-autonomous vehicles under galactic commerce regulations. They have certain rights, yes, but ultimate ownership resides with whoever holds the salvage claim, which is us. Dale leaned forward, hands flat on the table. You're telling me you can walk onto that ship, cut out her consciousness, and sell her body, and it's legal? We prefer the term AI core extraction, but yes, essentially. Patricia pulled up more documents. We're prepared to offer you 200,000 credits for your work. That's more than fair, considering you had no legal claim to begin with. I'm not taking your money. Then we'll have you removed from the ship by force. Station Master Grant, you control docking permissions here. We expect you to revoke this man's access immediately. Grant's mandibles clicked nervously. I don't want trouble with Iridian. Hendricks, maybe you should take the deal. Dale straightened up. No. Patricia's expression hardened. You're making this difficult for no reason. The ship is valuable. We're offering you a generous finder's fee. Take it and walk away. You don't get it. Dale looked at each of them in turn. She's not property. She's a person. She thinks, feels, remembers. She mourns the family that had to leave her. She's grateful for help. She's scared of you. Those aren't programming responses. That's consciousness. Irrelevant, Patricia said. The law is clear. Then the law is wrong. Patricia stood up, clearly done with the conversation. We'll have a boarding team here tomorrow morning. If you're still on that ship, we'll have you arrested for interfering with corporate property recovery. This conversation is over. Dale walked back to his shuttle in silence. Grant followed him to the docking bay. You should take the money, Hendricks. Iridian always gets what they want. Not this time. Dale sealed his suit and climbed into the shuttle. Back aboard Silvara, he found her main power core and placed both hands against the warm metal. They're coming tomorrow. They think they can force us to give up. Maybe you should go, Silvara said softly. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. Not a chance. Dale pulled out his datapad and started researching. There had to be something, some legal precedent, some loophole. He read through Galactic Maritime Law, commerce regulations, AI rights provisions. Hours passed. His eyes burned, then he found it. Buried in an old treaty from 50 years ago. The Draconis Autonomy Agreement. He read it 3 times to make sure he understood correctly. Silvara, do you know Draconis law? Some. Why? According to the autonomy agreement, a Draconis-class ship has the right to choose its captain. Once chosen, that bond is legally binding. The ship can't be sold or salvaged without the captain's consent. Silvara's lights brightened. I knew that once. I'd forgotten. The treaty is still active. It supersedes regular salvage law. Dale felt hope building in his chest. But you have to formally register me as your captain. Is that something you want? Yes, no hesitation. You saved my life. You treated me like I mattered. You're my captain in every way that counts. I want it official. Dale accessed the Galactic Registry through his datapad. The process was simple but solemn. Silvara had to make a formal declaration, witnessed and recorded. Dale had to accept the bond and all responsibilities that came with it. I, Silvara Draconis-class explorer vessel, registry designation DX4721, do formally request that Dale Hendricks accept the position of captain and bonded crew. I make this choice freely of sound consciousness and with full understanding of the commitment. Dale's voice was steady. I, Dale Hendricks, accept the position of captain of the Draconis-class vessel Silvara. I swear to protect her, maintain her, and respect her autonomy in all matters. This bond is freely chosen and will be honored until death or mutual release. The registration completed. According to galactic law, Silvara now had a crew. She wasn't salvage anymore. She was a working vessel with a captain. Patricia wasn't happy when Dale sent her the registration documents that evening. Her response came through text only, probably because she was too angry to speak calmly. This changes nothing. We'll contest the registration. Draconis law is archaic and barely recognized. Contest all you want, Dale wrote back. But until a court rules otherwise, you can't board this ship without my permission. And you're not getting my permission. He slept better that night than he had in weeks. When morning came, Silvara woke him with a gentle chime. Dale, there's a ship approaching. Not Iridian. Something else. Dale pulled up the external cameras. A small craft, old but well-maintained, was broadcasting a friendly signal. The comm channel opened to show a Valerian face. Older, with scales faded to gray, eyes that Dale recognized from the photograph in the cabin. This is Captain Rendell, the Valerian said. I'm trying to reach whoever's currently aboard the ship Silvara. Please respond. Dale opened the channel. This is Captain Dale Hendricks. I'm here. Rendell's eyes widened. Captain? She has a captain again? Is Silvara alive? Very much alive. Come aboard. There's someone who wants to see you. The reunion happened on Silvara's bridge. Rendell stood in the neural chamber, tears streaming down his scaled face while Silvara's lights danced around him. The old Valerian touched the walls with reverent hands. I thought I'd killed you, he whispered. I thought leaving you here was murder. You saved my life, Silvara said, speaking through the bridge speakers so Rendell could hear her voice. If you'd stayed, the infestation would have spread to your suits, your evacuation shuttle. You would have died with me. My daughter cried for weeks. She had nightmares about you dying alone in the dark. Tell her I'm okay now. Tell her I'm going to fly again. Rendell looked at Dale. You did this? You saved her? We saved each other, Dale said. How much do I owe you? I'll pay anything. Everything I have, Dale shook his head. You don't owe me anything. But I could use some help. Iridian Corporation is trying to take her. We're fighting them legally, but they have more resources than I do. Rendell's expression hardened. Iridian. They're the ones who tried to salvage her before, aren't they? Their acid treatment is what caused the infestation to spread so badly. That's them. Then let me make some calls. I used to be a trade captain. I know people. Lawyers, officials, other Draconis ship captains. If Iridian wants a fight, we'll give them one. Over the next week, support arrived from unexpected places. Other Draconis vessels, hearing about Silvara's survival, sent messages of encouragement. A Valerian legal firm offered pro bono representation. Trade unions blacklisted Iridian's docking rights at 3 major stations in protest of their attempted claim. Iridian backed down. Their lawyers sent a terse message withdrawing their salvage claim and wishing Captain Hendricks and his vessel all the best. Patricia's signature was noticeably absent from the document. Dale stood on Silvara's bridge and watched the corporate shuttle leave Dust Haven's space. We did it. You're free. We're free, Silvara corrected. Ready to finish what we started? The last Barnacle Queen died on a Tuesday, Dale watched through a microscope as Silvara's immune cells surrounded the parasite's core structure and systematically dismantled it. The process was beautiful in its efficiency, like watching a perfectly choreographed dance of cellular warfare. "How does it feel?" Dale asked. "Like removing a thorn that's been stuck in your side for years." Silvara's voice held relief and exhaustion in equal measure. "I can think clearly again. All my systems are responding properly. Dale, I'm really going to survive this." "Told you so." Dale grinned and marked the location as clear on his repair map. Only 3 more major colonies left, all of them weakened and dying. Another 2 weeks, maybe less, and the infestation would be completely eliminated. He spent the next days working on system restoration. Silvara's engines had been offline for 3 years. Dale went through every component, testing and repairing. The power core needed new fuel cells. The navigation computer required a complete memory restoration. The life support systems had to be recalibrated for optimal efficiency. Rusty helped with the detailed work, crawling into access panels too small for Dale to reach. The little drone had recovered from its earlier damage and seemed to enjoy being useful again. Sometimes Dale caught Silvara's lights following Rusty's movements with what felt like affection. "You like the little guy, don't you?" Dale said one evening. "He's brave. He saved your life when the larvae attacked, risked his own functionality to protect you. Rusty's good people, even if he's not technically people. Neither am I, technically." Silvara's tone was wry, "But here we are." On the 15th day after the corporate threat ended, Dale powered up Silvara's main engines for the first time. The reactor core hummed to life, sending power flowing through systems that had been dark for years. Displays lit up across the bridge. Sensors came online. The ship felt different, more present, like she'd been holding her breath and finally exhaled. "Engine status," Dale called out. "All systems nominal. Power output at 97% optimal. I'm ready to fly, Dale." He ran through the pre-flight checklist, his hands moving over controls that felt right, despite being designed for non-human operators. Draconis ships adapted to their captains, and Silvara had already started modifying her interface to match his preferences. Requesting departure clearance from Dust Haven, Dale transmitted to station control. Grant's voice came back. "Clearance granted. Try not to crash her. I've got bets riding on your success." "Thanks for the confidence." Dale engaged the maneuvering thrusters. Silvara lifted away from her mooring point smoothly, responding to his commands like she'd been waiting for this moment. They flew a slow circle around the debris field where Dale had first found her. The difference was stark. The dying, barnacle-covered derelict was gone. In its place was a sleek, powerful explorer vessel, her hull gleaming white against the stars. "Welcome back to the living," Dale said quietly. "Feels good to move again." Silvara's joy was infectious. "Where should we go?" "Let's start with somewhere close. Break you in easy." They traveled to the nearest inhabited system, a mining colony called Broken Peak. The journey took 6 hours at sublight speeds. Dale used the time to test Silvara's systems under load. Everything performed perfectly. Better than perfectly, actually. She was fast, responsive, and surprisingly nimble for a ship her size. At Broken Peak, they docked to refuel and restock supplies. Dale's credit account was dangerously low, but Rendell had transferred enough funds to cover basic necessities as a thank you gift. Dale made a mental note to pay him back once they started working. News of Silvara's restoration had spread through the salvage and exploration communities. Docking crews came to look at her, commenting on the quality of the repairs. Other captains stopped Dale in the station corridors to shake his hand. One older captain, a Terran woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, bought Dale a drink at the station bar. "I heard what you did, how you brought her back from a 3-year infestation that killed 7 salvage teams. That's impressive work." "Just doing my job," Dale said. "More than that." The captain leaned back in her chair. "There are maybe 50 Draconis ships still operating in this sector. They're rare, expensive, and most people treat them like tools. You treated yours like family. Other ships notice that kind of thing. Word gets around. I'm not looking for fame. Maybe not. But you've got respect. That's worth more than credits in this business." When they undocked from Broken Peak, Silvara had a destination in mind. "I want to visit the Valerian home system. See Rendell's family. Let his daughter know I'm okay." "We can do that." Dale plotted the course. 3 days of faster-than-light travel. "You ready for the jump?" "I was built for this." Silvara's voice held anticipation. Let's see if I remember how to fly properly. The jump was flawless. Silvara's organic systems handled the transition to faster-than-light speeds without any of the usual discomfort. Dale barely felt the shift, just a moment of disorientation, and then they were cruising through fold space toward Valerian territory. During the journey, Dale worked on the last remaining barnacle colonies. They were small now, dying, but he wanted them completely gone before they reached civilization. Silvara's immune system did most of the work. Dale just cleaned up the remains and patched the damaged areas. You know, Silvara said one evening, I've been thinking about what comes next. After we visit Rendel's family, yes, we're both free now. We could do anything, go anywhere. But I think I want to help others like us. Ships that are abandoned or dying, crews that are stranded. There's so much need out here, and we have the skills to make a difference. Dale considered that. Rescue and salvage work, I like it. We'd be good at it, more than good. We understand what it means to be abandoned, to be written off as lost. Nobody fights for the hopeless cases except other hopeless cases. We're not hopeless anymore. No, Silvara agreed. But we remember what it felt like. That's what matters. They emerged from fold space in the Valerian home system 3 days later. Rendel's family lived on the third planet, a world of blue oceans and green continents. Dale had never visited Valerian space before. It was beautiful, peaceful, carefully maintained. Rendel met them at the orbital station, and this time he brought his family. His daughter, now 15 years old, stared at Silvara's hull through the viewing port with tears streaming down her face. You're really okay, she whispered. I'm wonderful, Silvara said, speaking through the station's communication system, and I have your drawing framed on my bridge. It reminds me that someone loved me even when I was sick and scared. The girl smiled through her tears. Can I come aboard? Please do. The reunion was emotional. Rendel's family walked through Silvara's corridors, touching the walls, marveling at the clean white hull where Barnacles used to be. They visited their old quarters, still furnished with their belongings. The daughter found her cabin and cried when she saw that Dale had preserved everything exactly as it was. Why did you keep it all? She asked. Because it mattered to her, Dale said simply. This was your home. Those are your memories. Silvara wanted them protected. They stayed for 3 days, sharing meals and stories. Rendel told Dale about the panic when they'd first noticed the infestation, the desperate attempts to cure it, the heartbreaking decision to evacuate. I thought we'd killed her, Rendel said again. Every night for 3 years I wondered if she was suffering out there, if she was conscious enough to feel abandoned. She knew you loved her, Dale said. That's what she held on to. That's part of what kept her alive. When it came time to leave, Rendel made an offer. Stay here. Work out of our system. We have plenty of salvage and rescue work. The pay is good and you'd be among friends. Dale looked at Silvara's displays. What do you think? I think we should keep moving. There's more need in the outer systems. That's where the desperate cases are. Then that's where we'll go. Dale shook Rendel's hand. Thank you for everything. For trusting me with her, for helping us fight Iridian. For this, thank you for giving her back to us, even if she's not ours anymore. She's her own, Dale said. That's the whole point. They left Valerian space and headed back toward the frontier. Dale and Silvara had talked long into the previous night, planning their future. They'd set up a rescue operation, monitor distress calls, help ships and crews that other salvagers considered too risky or unprofitable. We'll need better equipment, Dale said, reviewing their supplies. Medical gear, towing cables, spare parts, fuel reserves. We'll build as we go. Take jobs that pay, save our earnings, help when we can afford to help. It was a good plan. Simple, honest. The kind of work that mattered. On their 5th day back in frontier space, a distress signal came through. Standard emergency beacon, automated, probably running for days. Dale checked the location. Deep in an asteroid field, dangerous navigation, at least 12 hours away at best speed. Mining ship, Silvara reported, analyzing the signal. Engine failure. Life support critical. Crew of 12. Dale looked at the navigation plot. It would be risky. They might not get there in time. Other ships had probably ignored the signal because the location was too dangerous. What do you think? He asked. Silvara's lights pulsed bright and determined. I think that's exactly the kind of help we were meant to provide. Dale smiled and started plotting the fastest course through the asteroid field. Then let's go save some lives. The asteroid field stretched for millions of kilometers in every direction, a maze of rock and ice tumbling through space. Dale watched the navigation display while Silvara threaded them through gaps that looked impossibly narrow. She moved with confidence now, her engines responding instantly to the complex maneuvering required. "How's our time looking?" Dale asked. 11 hours, 40 minutes at current speed. But I can go faster? Silvara's tone held excitement rather than concern. I spent 3 years sitting still. Let me fly properly. Dale checked her engine status and smiled. Go for it. Silvara accelerated. The asteroids became a blur outside the viewports. She spun and twisted through the field like she was dancing, avoiding collisions by meters. The navigation computer screamed warnings that Dale ignored. Silvara knew what she was doing. They cut 3 hours off the journey time. When the mining ship appeared on sensors, Dale felt relief wash through him. The vessel was old and battered, venting atmosphere from a hull breach near the engines. Its emergency beacon pulsed weakly. Life signs? Dale asked. 12 confirmed. All alive but stressed. Oxygen levels at 18% and dropping. They have maybe 90 minutes left. Dale opened a communication channel. Mining vessel. This is Captain Dale Hendricks aboard the Silvara. We received your distress call and are here to assist. Please respond. Static for a long moment. Then a voice rough with fear and hope. Thank the void. We thought nobody was coming. This is First Officer Ramon aboard the Rockhopper. Our engines blew out 6 days ago. Captain's dead. We've been rationing oxygen, but we're almost out. Understood. Stay calm. We're gonna get you out. Dale switched to internal communication. Silvara, can you dock with them safely? Their docking port is damaged. I'll need to use my emergency airlock and create a soft seal. It won't be perfect, but it'll hold long enough to evacuate. Do it. Silvara approached the Rockhopper with delicate precision. The mining ship was twice her size, but far less maneuverable. She positioned herself against their hull, extended her organic docking arms, and created a pressurized seal between the two vessels. Connection established, Silvara reported. Their side is stable. Opening airlock now. Dale was already moving toward the airlock, Rusty following at his heels. He'd prepared medical supplies, emergency oxygen, and food rations, the basics for 12 stressed and probably injured miners. The Rockhopper's crew stumbled through the airlock in groups of 2 and 3. They were a mixed group, Terrans and Kelthians and 1 Malari. All of them looked exhausted, dehydrated, scared. Dale and Rusty guided them to Silvara's cargo bay where they'd set up temporary quarters. Ramon was last through, a thin Terran man with burns on his arms and grief in his eyes. The captain tried to fix the engines himself. There was an explosion. We couldn't save him. I'm sorry. Dale handed him an oxygen mask. Breathe slowly. You're safe now. How did you get here so fast? We sent that beacon 6 days ago. Every ship that passed ignored us. We don't ignore distress calls. Dale checked Ramon's vital signs with a medical scanner. Minor injuries, severe dehydration, but nothing critical. You're all going to be okay. While the crew recovered in the cargo bay, Dale went back to examine the Rockhopper. The damage was severe. The engine core had exploded, taking out most of the propulsion system and life support. The ship wasn't going anywhere without major repairs that would cost more than the vessel was worth. Silvara, can you tow her? Yes, but it'll be slow. Maybe 2 weeks to reach the nearest station that can handle salvage this size. Dale did quick math in his head. 2 weeks of travel with 12 extra passengers. They had the supplies if they rationed carefully. It would be tight but manageable. Ramon found him on the bridge an hour later. Captain Hendricks, how much is this going to cost us? The crew has maybe 10,000 credits between us. Our company will pay eventually, but the paperwork takes months. No charge, Dale said. What? You heard me. No charge for the rescue. When we get to station, you'll owe for supplies and fuel at cost. Maybe 3,000 total. Split between 12 people, that's manageable. Ramon stared. Why would you do that? You could charge us 20 times that amount and we'd have to pay. Dale thought about Silvara, abandoned and dying, waiting 3 years for someone to care enough to help. Because somebody needs to help the people nobody else will help. Might as well be us. The journey back to civilization took 16 days. The Rockhopper had structural damage that made high-speed towing dangerous, so they traveled slow and careful. Dale spent the time getting to know the mining crew. They were good people, Hard workers trying to make a living in a dangerous profession. They'd been let down by their company, which had sent them out in an under-maintained ship and ignored their maintenance requests for months. We filed 7 complaints about the engine, Ramon told Dale over dinner on the 5th day. Management kept saying they'd send parts, but they never did. Said we needed to meet our quotas first. That's criminal negligence, Silvara said through the dining area speakers. The crew had gotten used to her voice by now, treating her like another person rather than just a ship. Can't prove it, though, Ramon said bitterly. We're contract workers. No union protection. If we complain too loud, they'll just fire us and hire desperate people to replace us. Dale made a note to report the mining company to every safety board he could find. It wouldn't change anything immediately, but at least there'd be a record. The crew earned their keep during the journey. They helped Dale with repairs on both ships. The Mallory engineer, whose name was Gretsch, had excellent skills with power systems. Between him and Dale, they managed to get the Rockhopper's emergency generators working again, which made the tow much easier. One evening, one of the younger crew members, a Terran woman named Lisa, found Dale working in Silvara's engine room. Can I ask you something, Captain? Sure. Why do you do this? The rescue work, I mean. You've got a ship worth millions. You could be running high-profit cargo routes or doing corporate contracts. Instead, you're out here pulling miners out of asteroid fields for free. Dale finished adjusting a power coupling before answering. Had a daughter once. She died when I couldn't get to her in time, so now I make sure I get to people while they're still alive to save. Lisa was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry about your daughter. Me too. Dale closed the access panel. But helping people like you and your crew, it makes the pain mean something. Gives it purpose. The Rockhopper's crew is thinking about staying together after this. Maybe buying our own ship, working independent. Would you have any advice for that? Yeah, get a ship with a personality. They're harder to maintain, but they're worth it. They'll keep you alive when everything else fails. Like Silvara? Exactly like Silvara. They reached Waypoint Station on the 16th day. The station master took one look at the Rockhopper and whistled low. That's going to be expensive to repair. Might be cheaper to scrap her. Probably, Ramon agreed. But we need time to find new work. Can you give us a few weeks before you make a decision? Sure thing. Docking Bay 7 is yours for a month. Dale helped the crew unload their personal belongings and get settled in station housing. He paid their docking fees for the first week, waving off their protests. Ramon tried to give him a data chip with contact information for the mining company's insurance. Keep it, Dale said. If you need references for new jobs, have them contact me. I'll tell them you're good workers who got screwed by bad management. We owe you more than we can repay, Ramon said, gripping Dale's hand. Pay it forward. Someday you'll see someone who needs help. Be the person who stops. After the Rockhopper crew was settled, Dale took Silvara out for a supply run. They needed food, fuel, spare parts, and medical supplies. The rescue had depleted their resources more than planned, but it had been worth it. 12 people who are alive because we answered a distress call, Silvara said as they loaded supplies. That feels good. Yeah, it does. Dale secured the cargo. Ready for the next one? Always. They spent the next weeks taking various jobs. Some paid well, like escorting a small cargo convoy through pirate territory. Some paid barely enough to cover fuel, like towing a damaged research vessel back to port. And some didn't pay at all, like the distress call from a family transport with sick children who needed immediate medical evacuation. Word spread about the White Draconis ship and her human captain, who took jobs nobody else wanted. Distress calls started coming directly to them. Other rescue operators would forward cases they couldn't or wouldn't handle. Station masters knew to call Silvara when situations looked impossible. 5 months after the Rockhopper rescue, they received a call from Ramon. He and 6 of his former crew had pooled their savings and bought a small cargo hauler. They were running independent contracts now, making decent money, and they'd just rescued a stranded shuttle themselves. We remembered what you said, Ramon told Dale over the comm, about paying it forward. Felt good to be the one stopping to help. Proud of you, Dale said, and meant it. That night, Dale sat in Silvara's observation deck and watched the stars stream past. Rusty hovered nearby, running diagnostic routines but keeping Dale company. 7 months since he'd first found Silvara dying in that debris field. 7 months of work, danger, joy, and purpose. You ever regret it? Dale asked. Choosing me as your captain? We could be running luxury cruises for rich tourists instead of pulling miners out of asteroid fields. Never, Silvara said without hesitation. I was built to explore, to discover, to help people reach new places. But being a rescue ship, being the vessel that arrives when everyone else has given up, that's better than exploration. That's being exactly where we're needed most. Good. Dale smiled. Because I was hoping you'd say that. Got another distress call while you were thinking. Colony transport with engine trouble. 300 people aboard, stranded in neutral space. Every other rescue ship says it's too far out, too risky, too expensive. Of course they do. Silvera's lights pulsed with anticipation. How fast do we need to get there? 4 days, maybe less if you push it. Then let's not waste time talking about it. Dale felt Silvara's engines come to full power beneath his feet. The sensation was familiar now, comfortable. He knew every vibration of her systems, every variation in her hum. She knew his habits, his preferences, his quirks. They'd become what a captain and ship were meant to be. Partners in every sense that mattered. Plot the course, Dale said, settling into the captain's chair. Let's go save some lives. Silvara leapt forward into faster-than-light speed, leaving a trail of light against the darkness. Behind them, the rescue operations they'd completed. Ahead, hundreds more people who needed someone to care enough to help. And between those 2 points, a man who'd found redemption and a ship who'd found freedom flying together through the stars. The pale dragon was no longer abandoned. She was no longer infested. She was no longer afraid. She was exactly what she was always meant to be, alive, purposeful, and free. And she had a human mechanic who'd believed in her when no one else would, who'd fought for her when everyone else had walked away, who'd seen past the barnacles and the damage to the magnificent vessel underneath. Together, they'd make sure no one else had to die alone in the dark. Together, they'd be the help that arrived when all hope seemed lost. Together, they'd fly until the stars themselves burned out.